We're learning the book of Parashat Noach. I struggle very much that these parashiyot happen when the clock changes, because we don't have time on Shabbat to study them properly. Some of the parashiyot in the year, I would say, God forbid they're less holy, but there's less content that is relative to us without a bit of mikdash that should be spoken about. But not Hashem. One day there'll be a day which is all light, and we'll have all day to sit and learn Torah. Hashem. Parashat Noach is all about the flood. I want to just start off with my opinion on Noach. The Torah says, "Ele todot Noach." These are the descendants of Noach, the story of Noach. Noach ish tzaddik tamim haya b'dorotav. Noach was a righteous person, was tamim, and innocent, pure. Maybe you should bring me an art scroll so I'll have good English words to use for the Chumash. He was in his generation, b'dorotav. Thank you. If you guys also want a book, it's good.
I'll bring you.
Last week's Parashat, right?
This one's Parashat.
Oh, this
one. Et Elohim italech Noach. Noach walked with Hashem. Our rabbis are troubled with the sentence, these are the generations of Noach. Noach was a righteous person in his generation. Why does it say in his generation? There are two ways to read this pasuk. The famous Rashi. Rashi says you can read it, he was righteous in his generation, but if he lived in Avraham Avinu's generation, he would not be considered righteous. He was righteous relative to his generation. With all due respect to Chazal, the rabbis who said this, I prefer not to. Why use this line of teaching? Why say this about Noach HaTzadik? The Torah tells you Noach was a tzaddik. The other way to read it, which fits into the pshat, is Noach was a tzaddik in his generation, which were...
That's the generation he lived in. So
it was the generation he lived in. They were evil people. Meaning, everybody was a tzaddik relative, but he was in that generation. You know how hard it is to be a tzaddik in that generation? If I would be in that generation, you think I would come out to be Noach? We all think, yeah, we were there, we would be Noach. Good luck. Noach, one person came out like this. His family, okay, people around him. That's the way to read the pasuk. There's some kind of negative attitude in the people who teach the parashiyot that always, Noach was this, Noach was that. Noach was not your best friend. Noach was not your classmate. Noach didn't play football with you at school. Noach was a tzaddik. Hashem calls him a tzaddik. Hashem walked with Noach.
Yeah.
What are you going to tell me now that he was half a tzaddik? Or Hashem didn't have anyone better to choose? This was the whole. It just makes the whole Torah start off on a note that is not correct, in my opinion. I can't tell you that everyone else is wrong. I just tell you that not everyone else is right.
Hashem had already put him at a high level already. Yeah.
Now we say, Vayoled Noach shlosha banim. Noach gave birth, not literally, he had 3 children. Et Shem, et Cham, et Yafet. 3 children. Vatishachet haaretz ifnei Elohim, vatimale haaretz chamas. The world became corrupt before Hashem, and it was filled with Hamas. Hamas, it's funny they chose this name Hamas. I don't know what it means in Arabic. But in Hebrew, Hamas is robbery. Thieves. What's the reason a robber and a thief?
One with the armed and one with the...
Okay, so there's an armed robber. Barry, remember the Gemara?
Yeah, I think one does it like out in the open, blatantly. The
Very
other
good.
one more
During
tries
the
to
day.
conceal it a little
A thief shows up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
He comes to steal things and he disappears. The robber, he just comes in the middle of the day. It's a carjacking, it's a store robbing, it's a mugging. Has no busha, no embarrassment from anybody. It's interesting. Our rabbis are split as to who's better. Who's better of a person, a thief or a robber?
Because the thief doesn't want to be discovered.
What does that say about him?
He's ashamed,
He would
maybe?
be embarrassed if he got
ashamed.
discovered.
He's ashamed.
Or is he afraid of getting caught?
Yeah.
He has some kind of
Or
God
shame.
complex in him, whereas a robber doesn't even care about Hashem. Some say the other way. No, look, the robber at least is genuine. The thief is trying to live a double life. You can analyze this however you wish. Either way, they're both bad people. In fact, the Gemara has a very interesting discussion that if a person steals from somebody else, depending on what they stole, they have to pay multiples of that amount. So if they steal like a goat, I don't know, a sheep, they have to pay double, triple, quadruple, whatever it is the poskim decide there. If a person is a robber, though, and he steals the sheep during the day, and he carries it on, how do you steal a sheep? You carry it on your shoulders. You run away with it. Our rabbis lowered his penalty. Why? Remember? Our rabbis lowered the penalty because he's already embarrassed himself by having to walk around with a sheep on his shoulders. He's already in broad daylight lowered himself, so they lower his penalty. Part of his penalty
His
was...
problem.
I know it's his problem. Part of his penalty was to be caught red-handed. You should know, in discipline, this is a very important thing. Sometimes a person does something wrong, and then everyone finds out they do something wrong. And even though they have to apologize, you should calculate into this apology, or the consequence that you're willing to give out, the embarrassment they had to go through until this place. They already, now the whole world knows their name, now it's on the news, now it's on the radio. There's a way to lesser a punishment because a person already got what they deserve, or partially what they deserve. It doesn't sit well with you, so say it.
I don't know. If a person is so bold as to go and steal something in broad daylight, maybe he's not embarrassed. He's just very, very bold and doesn't care and just says, like a bully kind of thing. I don't know.
That's right. That's not an incorrect stance. It's not incorrect. Alright, that's not what I came to speak about. Hamas. What does it mean, Hamas? וירא אלוהים את הארץ והנה נשחטה. כי השחית כל בשר דרכו על הארץ. All flesh, all beings had already corrupted their ways in front of Hashem. What does it mean, all beings? אפילו, says Rashi, אפילו בהמה, חיה ועוף נזקקים לשאינן מינן. Even the animals had relations with animals that weren't from their species. It could be that people influence the world so much that we even corrupt nature. Nature, which is supposed to have a path, a consistent path, we've managed to corrupt it. That's how low the world had sunk. V'tishachet, whenever the Torah talks about corruption, Rashi tells us it's talking about sexual corruption. The world was rampant with lewdness, with promiscuity.
This is
And
robbery.
Hamas is robbery. Hamas is stealing. You have to understand, if you lived in Noach's generation, you park your car in your driveway at home, and somebody comes and carjacks you in the middle of the driveway, he takes it, and you call the police. The police would say, where did you leave it? In the driveway. Were you holding on to it? No. So it's his. What do you mean it's his? Yeah, you left it outside. What do you want? That's what they would tell you.
Wow.
Corrupt. Meaning corrupt to the point where there was no law and order.
Oh, wow,
Let me ask you a
But
famous...
calling the authorities wouldn't do any good.
They were just as corrupt. You
Oh,
have
like
some
Mexico.
countries like that in the world today.
I agree.
Let me ask you this question. How is it, or why is it, that such a generation could be punished for something they were never commanded not to do? They didn't receive a Torah here. So on which grounds does the Kadosh Baruch Hu punish them?
But the 7 Ohio laws were already in
Explain.
existence.
Well, there were some laws, or it's part of nature. I mean,
You're saying two different things.
laws of nature.
Okay, speak to me about laws of nature, because that's right. Do I have to have a God to tell me that I shouldn't take somebody else's wife?
No.
No, God doesn't need to get involved in my story for me to know this is wrong. There are, and this is a long fight with the Catholic Church, so we've had it for subjective morality versus objective morality. There are things in the world that people must know that are not okay. In Eskimo society, there's some people that kill. They have a daughter, they don't want her, they kill her. And today, in the olden days, they would leave her out on an iceberg to die if she was the firstborn. They're almost like China. Yeah, but that's their social norm. It's not a social norm. In any human being's brain, it's forbidden to kill a child. What kind of crazy world is that? You have to go against. You have to corrupt your morality to reach this stage. Those were the things that the Kadosh Baruch Hu was punishing them for: sexual promiscuity, things they should have known better, and Hamas, robbery. They're actually stealing, taking something that somebody else worked hard for, and taking it from them. If you ever, I recently had a person in our community who got robbed.
Right.
And yeah, in this neighborhood, their house was robbed. And you speak to that person, and you show the first feeling they feel is not, I lost my computer. It's like a violation of myself.
Right.
It's like it's in my private space, and somebody else came in here. Somebody else took from me. Somebody else came. I once had a Friday night dinner at my house, not in this house, in the old house. And I don't know how it was. We were in the kitchen, we were talking. I walk into my room. Somebody's in my room.
Ooh,
Are you serious?
In my bedroom.
wow.
And I was like, okay, so whatever, they wanted to wash their hands, it was a sink, whatever reason they went in there. There are certain places in people's worlds that are off limits to anybody, to your friends, to your children, to your parents. When a person violates someone else's Dalet Amot, their 4 feet around them, this is what robbery does to another human being. The world just became corrupted at its core.
With Cain and Abel,
Yeah.
there was murder, and Hashem said right away, I'm punishing you because this is not acceptable. So right from the beginning, I mean, the world knew that doing things like that wasn't acceptable. Well, it wasn't proper. So we didn't have the 10 Commandments, we didn't have the Torah, but we knew.
Yeah.
So you're saying we didn't have the Torah. How did they know? Well, we knew because right from the beginning, Hashem said, you can't behave in certain ways.
Assuming that everybody got the memo. There was no Har Sinai experience that we had like in
No.
Egypt. We're going to assume that everybody got that memo. I hope so.
I guess.
You don't know. So you find something here very interesting. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes this... What makes Hashem destroy the world? All the things in the world that happen, then finally, they don't believe in Him, they're worshiping idols, doesn't care. It comes time they're hurting other human beings, Hashem says, that's it, I have to destroy this world. Hamas. Hamas is the origin... You know what our rabbis use the word Hamas to mean? Khamsan. Our rabbis have a different understanding. Not in commenting on the Torah, but in their own understanding. Let's say I come to Raul. I say, Raul, I love that hat. How much are you going to sell it to me for? He says, I don't want to sell it. I had it for a long time. It has sentimental value to me. I said, I'll give you, how much is the hat worth? $10. I'll give you $100. He still don't want to sell the hat. I said, I'll give you $10,000. He said, listen, I had a friend who wore it. I got it from him. I'm making a big story about your hat. Belonged to his father, yeah, whatever it was. And what I do, I take out a check. I write out for him $1 million. I give him the money. Listen, I wouldn't give my hat. Take it. I'll give you my pants also, right? But I take his hat. I'm considered a khamsan. It wasn't something he wanted to sell. It doesn't make a difference how much you compensate somebody for it. It doesn't make a difference. This is a halakha that many people violate, you should know. Not so much in America because we don't do this so much. It's not our style of shopping. But in Israel, for example, you walk into the store and you start bargaining with the person. Bargaining. And this and that. And then. Now, in many such cultures, the prices are already put here, so assuming you're going to bargain them down. But there are times where you have the person bargaining is better than the salesperson. And you kind of twist their arm at that corner where, okay, I'll just give it to you. It doesn't have to always happen just... This is stealing. It doesn't have to happen just in Israel. In America, I recently spoke to someone who's he designs buildings and such things. And there are sometimes he gets that deal and he tells people, listen, my profit of margin, my margin of profit is very small on this. It's not a big project. I'm only going to make X amount of money. I have to be able to make that amount of money for me to be worth putting all my time, my hours, my effort into this project. And very often, by the end of that project, they ask this extra, and they complain about this, complain about that. Not only did he lose his entire profit, but he's already losing money on this deal. Those people think they got the best deal, but they're living for the rest of their life in a house that was stolen. It's a stolen house. The person has to think, sometimes better not to get a deal. There was a famous Talmid Chacham that once walked to the grocery store, and the person said, oh, Rabbi, for you, I'll give it to you for free. And so he took the things and he put it down on the counter and he walked out of the store. And the guy said, what? He said, I didn't come to the world to be a Talmid Chacham to get a discount on my tomatoes. It's not what I came. I don't want to steal from anybody. I want to pay what I need to pay. It's a very important character trait to have in life in general. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and our parents, whenever he tells us the pasuk, says, you understand that Hashem didn't destroy the world for idolatry. He didn't destroy the world. He destroyed the world at the moment people became corrupt between themselves. How many people do we know? They keep Torah mitzvot. Kashrut is in heaven. They Shabbat, every little detail of the law they do. Forget hurting other people. In financial matters, they're not straight people. They steal. They cheat on taxes. They I don't want to detail all the avil that people do. They find ways. There are sometimes it happens that an airplane company will make some kind of mistake on their algorithm on their website. It'll come out. You get a $47 tickets to New York from San Diego. It's a great deal.
Yeah.
You have some websites that's all they live for these things. All day long they're looking for that mistake to put it online. They advertise, and people join their website, and they make money off advertisements. And I recently was on an airplane. They said, we had one of these glitches in the system, and most of the time the company honors the glitch. Why? It's not worth losing 250 customers over the 47. They absorb the cost of the flight. In halakha, this is no different than the story here of the guy with the rose hat. They didn't want to. You twisted their arm. I've seen rabbis write articles. No, it's okay. If they honor it, that means they honor it. And the flight attendant told me that the last 3 days of flights were full of Jews. That all took this. No, not just Jews, by the way. It happened recently from San Diego to Hawaii. And there was a person, it happened during lunch break. And this person, there were $1 tickets from San Diego to Hawaii.
Really?
Oh,
Really?
my.
And this person bought tickets for every single person in the office building. They took a number of planes to Hawaii.
Oh my.
And the glitch wasn't in business class, it was in a first class.
Oh,
Something like this.
my.
It was an article on news,
Really?
CNN, Fox News. You can look it up, glitch to Hawaii. Maybe the details are not accurate from what I remember. And the whole company went to Hawaii. And it just makes you, those guys, they weren't even Jewish. They were just the Chilul Hashem is tremendous. The desecration of Hashem's name. But what about stealing? You only eat glad kosher, but you're willing to use a glitch to get to a vacation? What about that? How many times people do they go to the grocery store? I see people all the time. Not from our people. I see people eating things in the grocery store. I come inside, they take an apple off the shelf, they're eating it. Now it's one thing, you take your apples, then you go pay for it at the end. They throw it in the garbage when they finish their apples. Like, they're offering you groceries while you shop. Sometimes I go to Costco, I see people open up, there's an open package of candy or something, an open package of drinks. Somebody helped themselves to a... Now I spoke once to the manager, actually here. They said they calculated into their monthly cost shoplifting and things going bad on the shelf. Sometimes things get spoiled. They have a but why should a business have to calculate for you that somebody might eat something that they didn't pay for? What kind of world?
And leave
do
it
you live in?
half unfinished somewhere on a
Somewhere
shelf.
very
On
good.
a shelf.
Now I've taught El Hanan, for example, and I might not be according to halakha. I don't know. I buy something. It could be that the second I take it, it's really mine. I pay for it now. I pay for it later. I taught El Hanan. This you can hold it in your hand. It's ice. It can melt on your fingers, but you don't taste it until that little machine goes ding.
Yeah.
You have to from day one.
My
You have to
kids
teach a person this.
wouldn't. My kids.
Of the Baruch Hashem. This is
It says, did you pay already? Did you pay already?
so much so that El Hanan for about 6 months he used to make me pay for his bottle of milk. It's his. I brought it from home. You have to scan it also because he didn't want to steal from the store the bottle of milk. It's better that than something else. Straight to be straight. There's sometimes people go to restaurants and they up the bill on them, or they go to a car mechanic. This is the way I make my money. Is I trick people. But still stealing. It's no different than anything else. You're a salesperson. You're selling a product. You know that has a defect in it. How could you sell it to somebody else? Sure, you could. A normal businessman would. And now what happens to the person? The person who tries to be straight and everything, people make fun of them. Oh, see, that's why you don't have any money. Oh, that's why you can't take... They make fun of you. I was like, you're the bad person. We're going backwards towards the generation of Noach. Parents would boil his blood. Sometimes people would ask him, oh, they eat only this hechsher. I says, are you willing to show me a copy of your taxes this year? They asked him. He's not running for president. They asked him. He said, no. You don't need to worry about keeping kosher.
Gosh.
Sometimes you have to just be straight sometimes. What can you do? This is the generation of Noach. Okay, enough of my... On the same topic of finances. Let's look at a few something later. So, there's a flood. Yeah, that's the important part of the parasha. On page 36, the bottom, Vaishalach Tayona, Meito, Noach sends out the dove. Lirot. This is a famous song. Yona Matzah Bo Manoach. The day that the dove found its place to rest, right? That's Shabbat. Lirot. Hakalu Amayim al Pnei Adama. I want to know if the water had left, if it had gone down. V'lo Matzah Yona Manoach. The dove did not find a place to rest. Lekaf Ragla. It didn't find a place to put down its feet. Vatashov elav. It returns to him El Teva, to the ark. Ki mayim al Pnei Kol Haaretz, because there was water everywhere. Vaishlach Yado, and he took his hands, Vaikacheha, and again, he sent his hands and he took her, Vayaveh ota elav el hatevan. He brings her to him into the ark. There are a lot of words here for the same thing. It could have just said she came to the ark. Noach set his hand. He took her. He brought her back into the ark twice. The whole story here is a very strange story. She says something beautiful. She tells us. Let's keep going a little more. I have it in my notes.
Well, one thing it certainly says is that he valued every creature. I mean, it makes the dove very important.
Where's my olive branch, Chava? Here, nice puzzle. Vatavo elav hayona. Sorry, Marlene. What did you? No,
I just said the fact that there are so many words. It sounds like the dove was very important to him, which made me think that every creature in his ark he felt very responsible
very nice.
for.
Very nice. Say maybe something else. Maybe the dove didn't want to go back then, and he had to take the dove back then. Why?
But there was no
But it
place
says
for him even to.
She didn't
to
find
sit.
a place
No,
to
there was
rest.
nowhere, so-
Vatavo elav hayona let erev. The dove came back again at night, the second time. Vine ale zayit taraf b'fiha. And it had a olive branch in its mouth. You ever eat an olive leaf?
It's
Oh, it's
bitter.
bitter.
Tremendously bitter. It's not
Very
something a
Oh,
bird
really?
would go pick to eat.
Yeah.
Olives themselves, before you pickle them, are
Right.
disgusting. You
Bitter.
would never want to eat one.
No.
Vayida Noach yikalu hamayim al haaretz, and Noach knows now that the water had subsided. Let's see Rashi over here. Rashi says Tanaf on the bottom. V'darshu, and our rabbi said us out. B'fiha, Amra, she said the following: "Iyu mezonotayim merurim kazayit biyado shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu." I'd rather get bitter livelihood, sustenance from Hashem, v'lo metukim kedvash b'idei basar v'dam, and not anything as sweet as honey from another human being. The dove doesn't want to come back. Noach has to force the dove to come back. The dove says, "I don't want to be dependent on anyone else except for HaKadosh Baruch Hu." What do we say in Slichot? Nipelana biyad Adonai ki rabbi brachamav. Based on a pasuk from Tehillim. Let me fall into the hands of Hashem. I don't want to get into anyone else's hands.
Mhm.
David HaMelech says it's not worth it for me to go into someone else's hands. In the old Yemenite and Sephardic Sidurim, it was edited about 100 years ago. It says in the Rachem, in the blessing of Birkat HaMazon, it says, please don't let us need anyone else's gift. And then there was a sentence down there that says, Ki matnatam meuta, because their gifts are very small, v'chelpatam meruba, but the disgrace I have to go through for those small gifts are very great. It's an important thing to know. Sometimes somebody will give you a gift, and you should say, what is it? It says, Soneh matanot yichya. Someone who hates gift will live. Okay, they're giving you a gift of $10 million, maybe it's worth dying. Yeah? But someone gives you a gift. They come to a birthday party. They give you some plastic toy for you. And then the rest of your life, they feel like you owe them something because of this. It would be better not to take anything in the first place. Just make a plan. I don't take. I'm sorry. It's better for you. It's better in life not to ever need somebody else. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that back in the days, there was a commentary here that says that if Talmidei Chachamim were self-sufficient, they didn't need a community to support them, they would be able to do much more as Torah scholars because there was nobody in the world who could tell them something. It's a very wise thing. That we reach such a
Chafetz
place.
Chaim didn't take anything.
Anything. Well, Chafetz Chaim mentioned it was not the rabbi of a town. He wasn't the rabbi of Yeshiva. He was like his own independent rabbi, the Chafetz Chaim. But this was the model of many rabbis. So the poskim justify that today, to be a rabbi, it's very difficult to do two things at once. I met a rabbi in in New York, who was a lawyer during the week and a rabbi in Shabbat. Ended up quitting his job as a rabbi. It's very difficult because he told them he can only work on Friday and Saturday. He can't Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Yes, there is a practice, and they couldn't. You can't listen. Someone doesn't wait for you to die on Shabbat. They don't wait for you to get married, and when you're off to hours. The world is the world. The world, people, and so it didn't work out for them. They had to get a different rabbi. They thought they were going to have a good experience, and it didn't work out.
They tried.
But they tried. It's such a concept. It could one day exist. To never need somebody else. You should always make a calculation. It's better to live off of less and not need someone else. The rabbis say, Aseh Shabbat Chachol, make your Shabbat a weekday. Don't understand from this that a person should keep Shabbat. But just understand how much our rabbis viewed financial independence. Make your Shabbat into a weekday ואל תצטרך לבני אדם. And don't depend on the finances of somebody else. It's better for a person to work on Shabbat, that's what our rabbi said, than to get a handout from somebody else. Now, our rabbis don't intend for you to work on Shabbat. They're trying to drive home the message of how important it is to be independent. Even the dove didn't want Yonah's. After her limited time, she knew once there was a place she could rest, she left. She didn't want to stay there. It was better for me to eat olive branches that are bitter than to eat the good food that he has inside. Every person should take this message home. Maybe one last thought for tonight. There's this Migdal Bavel. I'm going to talk about it on Shabbat. It wasn't really a tower where people fought with God. That wasn't really the story. But it was a tower, and people were fighting with God, but not the way you would understand fighting with Hashem. And you find here in chapter 11, in Pasuk Hey, וירד אדוני לראות את העיר ואת המגדל. And Hashem goes down, so to speak, to see the tower, the city, אשר בנו בני האדם, which the human beings had built. ויאמר אדוני הן עם אחד ושפה אחת לכולם. They have one nation, one language. Our rabbi says they spoke Hebrew. That was the language they spoke.
Yes, that was a language before the flood.
That's the language that Adam used in the creation of the world. Rashi says an interesting question. But I don't see. The last Rashi in the right column. Bnei Adam. The children of Adam. That's the Hebrew word for human beings. Rashi says, Ela bnei mi. Which other children would they be? Shema bnei chamorim ugmalim. They're the children of donkeys or of camels. Like, what? You're telling me the Torah is using a word. The children of Adam. Hashem went to go see what the children of Adam did. Who else would he be going to see? Ela, rather, bnei Adam harishon, shekafa et hatova v'amar haisha asher natat imadi, af elu kafru b'tova. There's a few different ways to read this. למרוד במי שהשפיעם טובה ומעלתה מן המבול. אדם הראשון, I want to say it in a positive way. Okay, I'm going to change it this way. Adam הראשון, he's Adam הראשון, the greatest of all people. These were his descendants. His descendants had become one united people. You know, this is Ahavat Yisrael at its best. People tell you that love of everybody is greater than everything else. This is what happens. Hashem says it's because they spoke one language. It's because they lived together. It's because they did everything together that they reached this place. You know, in Israel, I've said this before, whenever Israel makes a left-wing decision, like giving away land, it's always under a right-wing government. Why? You always need an opposing force. When you have a right-wing government, and they say, hey, why don't we give away a piece of land? Well, the left-wingers say, sure, great, we've been waiting for you for a long time. When a left-wing government wants to give away land, we don't want you, you have an opposition.
Yeah.
When you lose your opposition, when there's no monopoly, when there is a monopoly on something, for example, in business, when one person is the only person selling everything, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Corruption is at its greatest. Where they say absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is how it is, always. And a person has to, this is what happens here. It's the unity. Oh, what about unity? Unity is great when harnessed for the right reason. Unity can also be the most destructive force on earth. When people are united to do bad, Hitler, Yimach Zichro, united Europe to kill the Jews. And on this they were united.
And they were.
They worked together on this. Now today everyone cries, oh, he ruined our country, he took our money. I was in Poland and I had to hear the Polish people tell us how bad it was for them and how terrible. And they also went, you know what the Polish people did in the Holocaust to the Jews? I heard from testimony from the Polish prisoners that it was worse for them under the Poles than under the Nazis. No, not like it was a piece of cake by the Nazis in Machshma Zichron. But the Polish people, they loved. This was their When the Polacks went to defend Poland, they went against German tanks with horses. Why? They wanted to lose. It was okay for them to. Today they make up stories. History doesn't lie. History is always by the victor. That's who writes out history. We were there. It was our parents that were there. Our grandparents that were there. When you have people united, they're united. So Bnei Adam, says Rashi, it's the reason why this was so bad because they should have known better. Who were they children of? They were children of Adam HaRishon. But they got the character trait of not being able to have gratitude towards other people. And there are some people that there are two words that can never come out of their mouth. The same people that can't say these two words are the same people that can't say another two words. The words thank you. There's something that doesn't make them, what you do for them, you'll never hear a thank you. In the years of meeting people who can't say thank you, there's another two words they can't say, and that's I'm sorry. The same people. It's this attitude of the world revolves around me. I am it. Ani ve'en afsi. I am this just me. I am the only one in this world. They expect you to do everything for them. And when you do everything, it's one thing. I want to do something for you. But where is your gratitude? I once had a problem with a bride and a groom that were getting married. And they were upset at their parents that they were paying for their wedding, but they didn't want to pay for all these other things that they wanted. You imagine the important things? They weren't asking for an apartment or for a car. They were asking for a photo booth. Remember a photo booth? I didn't even know it was a thing until recently I did a wedding. It's like you go inside, you press a button, and they take pictures of you and they put it on a magnet and you give it to your friends.
Oh.
The parents said, listen, we're paying for flights, we're paying for food, we're paying for... If you want this, put it yourself. I mean, not the 15-year-old kids over here.
Right.
And this sense of entitlement, of I deserve something that I didn't work. If your parents are paying for your wedding, that's the way of the world very often is that parents do pay for a child's wedding. But that comes from a place of thank you. From I'm so appreciative that you did this for me. Not from a place of, come on, you couldn't do more? What kind of child? Banim gidati ve'omamti. Hashem says, I raised children, vehem pashubi, and they rebelled against, they're criminals against me. When does it always happen, says our parents? Veishman Yishurun gets fat, ve'ivat, and he kicks. Sometimes it's when you're feeding the cow that it kicks you. And when it was hungry, it needs you, right? The moment it's too full, it doesn't need it anymore. Get out of my life. The same thing happened here. Whenever Am Yisrael gets too comfortable, we get happy, we get wealthy, we all of a sudden forget about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kfuyei tova. Hashem does so much for us. And how often do we complain? And we never say thank you. We try in our life, and I'm ending off on this note, as much as possible, anything you get in your life. You go to the store, you're able to buy something that before you weren't able to buy, you didn't have money for. Something happens in your house, you're able to fix it, Baruch Hashem, it could have been much worse. To always say, Hodu l'Adonai ki tov, ki l'am chazol. Thank you, Hashem. The generation of Noach, their flaw was corruption. And it went from before the flood, corruption of sexuality, of money, then after the flood, they didn't steal from each other. They were good friends. They all spoke the same language. They didn't cheat on each other's spouses because they were all getting along with each other. But they now decided to rebel against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How did they rebel against HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And this is why thank you, Hashem, because you're the source of everything. Instead, Hashem, you don't give me more. You don't give me enough. They rebelled against HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this way. And how many times do we see that? A person wants to work on Shabbat. I'm going to tell you now. I rarely speak and fight. A person wants to work on Shabbat. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, listen, this is the day. Ki mikol ha'beracha. This is the day for all the blessing comes from this day. When you don't work on Shabbat, it's where all your brachot are going to come from. The person says, no, Hashem, I need to work because if I don't work on Shabbat, I'm going to lose this, I'm going to lose that. I understand the human need. I understand. I respect it. I understand this fear of letting go. But what it tells me is you don't really believe that your parnasah comes from Hashem. Hashem says, don't worry. This I'm going to take care of. I have yet to meet a person in our community who lost their money, went broke because they didn't work on Shabbat. And the whole world doesn't work on Sunday. The whole world.
It would be interesting if one of the people of our community started keeping the second day
of holiday.
Of not work. Yes, it would be interesting to see if it was affected.
Okay.
Because we had 7.
I mean, a lot of second days. Yes.
Right.
It's a special thing. You should know. I respect the person so much. For us, some of us, it's routine. Shabbat. We already for years we've been keeping it. But for a person, I don't judge them. But clearly there's a flaw, and then you wonder why are they so stressed about their finances? They don't really believe it comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How do you know they don't believe? Because they're still working on Shabbat. Why are they working on Shabbat? Because they feel if they're their store is closed and they're not going to make a parnasa. What about Sunday? Tell me about Sunday. The majority of this country doesn't work on Sunday. So some people do. Some people have businesses that are open all day long. Very few people here have such a reality. Why are they running around on Shabbat? So close on Sunday. Close on Shabbat, open on Sunday. You'll be the only one open on Sunday. It's a fear, it's a lack of... Chavetz Chaim writes as introduction to Mishnah Berurah, Shabbat is the root of belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I say Hashem created the world. Hashem created the world, He created my parnasai. If He created my parnasai, He created me. Yeah, sometimes I go into Shabbat, something happened, there's a bill that I couldn't cut, whatever it was that happened. I say, right now it's Friday. It doesn't make a difference. I get messages, Shabbat. The bank called, this one called. It doesn't make a difference. Right now, for these 25 hours, it doesn't make a difference. We'll say Shabbat, we're going to have to deal with everything. Try it. A little bit of rest on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Don't ever come off as ungrateful to Hashem. When I'm grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He always gives us more B'ezrat Hashem. And that's with everybody else. When the people do things for us, acknowledge that they did good for us. Somebody say, please don't say thank you to me. Tell them that it's okay for them to say they don't want to thank you, but for you it's important that you should say thank you. It's important. Over and over.
Todah, it's hoda'ah.
Very
You
good.
say todah.
Thank you is also
You admit
that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. Alright, Chazak Baruch.